Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And here I have a great article for you guys from Mike over at Light Reading. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. So make sure you guys stay tuned for this one. This is going to be a longer video. Make sure you grab your popcorn, snacks, get in a relaxed position, and let's get started. So the title reads, T-Mobile, What Slowdown? So I want to caution everyone on this, right? A lot of people are saying that T-Mobile is still in the peak build of their N41. And I want to say that from what I'm being told is it's coming, that N41 build is kind of coming to a slowdown. And what I mean by that is at the Q2 earnings call, T-Mobile announced that they now cover 285 million pops with N41. So although it's going to take a lot longer to cover that last 15 million pops, but if you're looking at the capital spend that it takes to cover those 15 million pops, it's not going to cost as much as it did when they had to cover the first 200 million pops. Within that 200 million pops, they had to touch a lot more sites versus the last 15 million pops that they have to cover to get to that 300 million target that they have set out for the company. So I think with that, with the remaining capital that they have left, that's what they're using to, within this calendar year, still build out new sites. And of course, that's going to accelerate more in 2024. But within this calendar year, they're building out what I'm told is a good amount of sites for new coverage areas. So he's kind of going from, in this article, in terms of the what slowdown, T-Mobile is continuing to grow and grow and grow. They're not slowing down. They maintain the same strategy that they did when John became the CEO of T-Mobile, is grow, grow, grow. Grow at all cost, no matter what it takes, grow the base. So in the second quarter of 2023, T-Mobile gained 760,000 new postpaid phone customers, a figure the company said was its best performance in the second quarter in 8 years. So think about that. Think about that. They are loading up the network. They started at a very low number and they continued growing. And that was during LTE. They started the Un-carrier movement and they just continued loading up the network. And they're telling you now, in 2023 Q2, they had the best second quarter performance in 8 years. Keep that in mind. And the reason I want to point that out and kind of emphasize that is because they're already a much larger company now than they were 8 years ago. And they just had their best second quarter performance in 8 years. That's adding a lot of customers to areas where they already have dominant market share, if you catch my drift. They're going to have to invest a lot of money at the regional level to keep up with these markets where they continue slamming customers onto the network. And the fixed wireless access usage, I didn't even get to that yet in this video. And that's being added on top of still growing the best in this second quarter in 8 years. You know, I can't stress that enough because that's a lot of usage that's being added on back into the network. Right, back then, it was kind of necessary for T-Mobile to grow because they needed to monetize. They needed to get people onto the network. It was empty. They had a decent amount of spectrum. They needed to show growth. They had taken a lot of losses over the years. But now, to still grow that way, when your base is already much larger, I'm not saying that's a problem or an issue, but on the network side, that has to be a nightmare for the engineers. Right? At the local level, to optimize for the mobile users that they continue to grow, to optimize for the fixed wireless access usage, which, by the way, one of those fixed wireless access users onto a sector probably equals like 500 mobile users that are added onto that sector. Just one fixed wireless access customer. Right? Just keep that in mind. Now, I'm not saying the network is crashing. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying if you continue doing that, which they're destined to do it, right? Q3, they will probably have the best performance in a long time. Q4, they will probably do the same. And then in 2024, it's just going to repeat. So at some point, right, they're going to have to make an adjustment. What's the slowdown? There's really no slowdown in that sense. They continue growing. The network, the N41 build will be largely complete by the end of the year. Once they hit 300 million pops, they haven't announced a goal to go beyond that, right? They covered 326 million pops total with its low band 5G, and then 300 million with mid band. They haven't announced the guidance to go beyond that. So now they're going to have to work on really focusing in on the small cells to deploy that, the cell splits, adding a fourth sector where needed, adding an entire new macro if needed. So you got to take all that in, right? That 9 to 10 billion will only get them so far. Can they accelerate? They just raised CapEx a little bit. Are they going to raise CapEx again in the third quarter? Possibly, right? And then if they do it again in the fourth quarter, see, all of that adds up. All of that adds up. It's not, again, I'm not speaking from a competitive standpoint. Verizon and AT&T still spend more. Regardless of how the CapEx is split between fiber and their other businesses, they still spend more overall. Right? T-Mobile is, you could say, I bet if we had all of the numbers broken down as to what's being spent on wireless, I have a feeling that T-Mobile is right there. I don't think they're far off. Even at the 9 to 10 billion, if anything, Verizon probably spends 2 to 3 billion more than T-Mobile, and AT&T probably spends a little less than T-Mobile, if we're just talking pure wireless. And the reason I say the Verizon one, because Verizon is still largely pure wireless and they have a larger base, so they naturally are going to spend more, especially since they're trying to catch up. And AT&T is just too focused on fiber, so they're likely spending a larger amount on fiber and less on wireless. And you can kind of see that in the deployments and where the networks are heading. And T-Mobile, that 9 to 10 billion is pretty much all just going to the wireless. They don't run any phone lines. They don't run any of their own fiber. They don't have large enterprise businesses that they operate. So anything that they do and that they grow share in is all backed by that wireless network. When they got that VA contract, for an example, they're not laying any, wires into those buildings. They're not running any fiber into those buildings. It's all backed by their wireless network. They're 99.9% a wireless business. The last wireline assets that T-Mobile had, they sold it for like $1 that they inherited from Sprint, and they will move forward with an all wireless network. Now they're doing some fiber test trials and stuff, but I don't consider that a business yet because it's too early, too soon, too small, and they're leasing it, right? They're buying it from a company, reselling it. So I don't take that serious right now. But in terms of the slowdown, they have no slowdown. They're continuing to grow the same way they did when the Un-carrier started. They're now a larger base and they still continue to grow. It's a bit concerning in my opinion. The wireless network, I need to see more activity versus the amount of growth that they're getting. I know there's still some N41 capacity out there that they need to fill, and they will fill that. They just hit 4 million total subscribers almost on fixed wireless access. They want to get to 7 to 8 million by 2025. I think they get there very comfortably. And like I said, if there's ever a slowdown in that fixed wireless access side, they will pick it up with promotions and stuff. They will get to their target. They know exactly what it takes to get to their targeted guidance, which many say is still a conservative guidance. So that 7 to 8 million, and them growing, like, you could make the argument that in the second quarter their fixed wireless access growth is a bit slower. There's some softness there, but with them going from 285 million pops to 300 million pops, there's probably still some areas where they have to get retail distribution out there. That number, that 500K number, I'm thinking is going to accelerate. They'll probably get to 700,000 fixed wireless access ads in some of these quarters, especially Q4. That's a very heavy promotional quarter. We got the iPhone launching, so that could bring some new customers in. and they have a very high success rate. About 77% of new customers they convert to fixed wireless access. So that's a very high success rate. So keep that all in mind as you're thinking about what slowdown, right? T-Mobile is looking at other opportunities as well outside of consumer business. They're looking to grow enterprise. They're looking to grow SMB. They're looking to grow government agencies. All of that is stressed onto the wireless network. And in most cases, like I've stated in plenty of videos during the merger process, T-Mobile is not extensively densifying the network beyond what they already had. Yes, they did add 13,000 new Sprint Keep sites, but I said if you break that down across the entire United States, they're just sprinkling in some densification. It's not like any single market got an additional 90 macros for that example. You know, there were some that probably did get a high amount or got a high amount across the state. But like for an example, El Paso, out of the 13,000 Sprint Keep sites, we got like 4 of them, which is nothing. You know, that's a very small percentage if you include the entire market. So they have to really work on, okay, we need to set these funds aside and we really need to densify it with small cells, cell splits for sectors where needed to really uphold the network compared to all the usage that comes in. And I'm not talking about the current growth. They have future projection models that show already, okay, we can get to this market share. That'll add this amount of capacity onto the network. They know. So they have to do the work. They have to invest accordingly to make sure that the network does not tank. So let me know what you think about that in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys stay tuned for more. Like, share, subscribe. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.